Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take about 30 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders, business owners, to provide you some great Ironman mindsets to help you scale your business, to become a better leader and push yourself out of a comfort zone into something that's going to stretch you. We hope you really enjoy these shows and encourage you to like and share with your friends, your network, family members. Try and get a wider audience and improve our industry. On each show, I'm going to try and pull out one type of Ironman mindset, insight that you could take back to your business. And if you're implementing one insight every single week or all the shows, then it's going to make a dramatic improvement to your business. Super excited as well to share that we're partnering up with Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Whitney and a returning guest, Mark Tipton. Good to see you both.
Great to be back, Robert.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. I'm glad you could come on today. Whitney, we haven't met before, but I'd love the audience just to know a little bit about your background, if you're good with that.
Totally. So my name is Whitney Griffin, and I'm on the product team at Aspire. I have been for 3 years, and I came from the landscape industry. I'm a landscaper. I don't really know anything about writing code or software. My job is to kind of put myself in the user's boots, so to speak, which is cool because that's what I did before I came to Aspire. I have, what have I done? I've run the maintenance division for a green roof contractor on the East Coast. I was the professor that taught all of the landscape-related courses at Texas A&M University for several years. Most recently, I was at a design build firm here in Austin, Texas, where I was kind of the lead designer/project manager. And now I'm at Aspire, and I talk to customers and hear what they want, and then talk to developers and see what they want that we can do, and kind of thread that needle between what's going to work and what isn't, and how to get the best functionality into users' hands.
I've got so many questions already, but Mark, I know you're obviously well-respected industry. I don't know if veteran's the right word because you're not old.
I'm old. I'm old, Robert. I can officially be called a veteran. So.
But there's it's great to just see my audience continue to build. I'd love just some of that new audience just to hear a little bit about your background, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the landscape industry now for over 20 years. As I go back, really, my introduction, I was in the custom software world, and I ran into an acquaintance who needed some software, and he was a landscape contractor running a pretty good sized business. And that was my introduction to the green industry, and quickly fell in love with it, got to know so many good people. And then 2013, I co-founded Aspire, which is where I am today. I'm the CEO of Aspire Software. And it's been an amazing ride back from the early days where we were building the software, kind of felt like in a basement, wasn't literally in a basement, but to where we are today, where we have an amazing team of over 200 people who work on our product team with Whitney that are able to build the amazing products that we're releasing today. And so Whitney's been such a key talent, a key role in this latest thing that we're releasing, which is our construction enhancements to Aspire. And, Whitney talked about the two worlds that she operates in. She's speaking to customers, which is one language, and then she's speaking to our engineering staff, which is a whole nother language. So I think you can call Whitney bilingual, but she does an amazing job of being able to communicate effectively with both. And as we look at, what we're going to talk about here today, Robert, I mean, the thing that excites me most is the way this project has kind of really taken me back to the early days of Aspire, where we had set up, back before the product even existed, these advisory groups where we iterated on the product over and over again. We'd do some work, we would go back, and then meet with our advisory group, show what was done, get more feedback, go back and iterate it again. And that's how we built the first version of Aspire. And Whitney's really taken us back to that. Not that we ever got away from it. We were always very connected with our customers, but just the level to which she has run several groups, really, where we have been getting feedback on these very, very important, very complex features that drive construction. And so it's just been exciting to watch that, see the feedback, hear from the clients who've been part of it, just what a meaningful experience that's been for them. And then obviously the byproduct of that is what we're releasing, which we're probably maybe 2/3 of the way through our releases on our construction enhancements. And credit to Whitney and the team; they really hit the nail on the head. They've listened well. They've been very creative and built some really powerful functionality.
Mark, I know that you brought back some great memories of early days of Aspire when I met with you and our good old friend Kevin Kehoe back in that house in Phoenix, and exciting times just to see. Obviously, I was at the Aspire conference a month or so ago, and just to see it going from that house in Phoenix with a few people around the table to what did you have, like 1,800 people or so down in Orlando, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah. You were literally there like day one or day two, or it was early days. But yeah, man, a lot has changed, and we've been so blessed. I mean, we've been able to enjoy such a great relationship with folks like yourself and other contractors in the industry who. Again, getting back to this process, I mean, they've guided us and given us the answers to the test on what makes a great product. And so that's the part I love about the industry. It's the people and the connections we make and being able to work in partnership.
No, Whitney, you were talking my language earlier because I've been on my step stool and on my bandwagon because I think it's really important, especially this time of year. A lot of companies are now going into strategic planning, and they'll spend maybe 2 or 3 days doing planning and talk about the plans for next year. But one of the missing steps I see over and over again is not talking to their employees, their staff, and B, more importantly, or maybe it's equally importantly, is talking to their customers, their clients. And it's so key because you see in the world these days there's so many things changing almost on a daily, weekly basis, and to have that feedback from your clients on what can improve, what things need to be changed. And you're right, Mark, that I think those early days, whatever company you belong to, you're hungry. You want to deliver things to your client. And I think, I'm not saying this about Aspire, but I think a lot of companies maybe they either lose that touch or lose that sense of direction. But I mean, I'm certainly super excited to hear that you've been out there, Whitney, and maybe you could just talk about the things you did and how deep you got into it and the feedback you got.
That's one of the really interesting things just about product management in general is you can know what you need to deliver, but if you don't put yourself in the actual shoes of your user, you're going to just miss a lot of those little tiny assumptions that aren't going to be communicated because to the user, to our landscape contractor, it's very obvious because they encounter it every day, right? And so when we started planning our construction roadmap at our Ignite conference a year ago in Las Vegas, we kind of announced and unveiled our construction roadmap and gave very high-level overviews of the general features we were going to deliver. And we asked for volunteers. If you're interested in going over these things and giving us feedback, fill out this Google form. And honestly, I was hoping for, about a dozen of volunteers. And it's hard, right? Because we want to do interviews. We want to talk to our customers while also knowing that they have businesses to run and responsibilities and also at home. And so there's this balance of how do we talk to them without being a burden. We were overwhelmed by the response. We had nearly 50 people volunteered. And then I thought, well, I can't put 50 people on a Zoom call because that's just never going to work. And so I was able to break our roadmap down into kind of feature sets. And so I focused on, okay, well, if you really care about estimating here, or financial reporting or production, like, are you the boots on the ground, or do you manage the boots on the ground? And then, are you dealing with change orders and submittals? And those were kind of our 4 groups. And we let all of those 50 volunteers kind of self-select into what they wanted to talk about. And shockingly, everything kind of ended up fairly evenly dispersed. And so each of those groups had, 4 or 5 features, and we met at least 3 times. Some groups met 5, some groups I still am meeting with today. And we went through the scope line by line. We looked at mock-ups. Our amazing UX department created dozens, I think, of prototypes where I could send them out and let our users click through and like, which makes more sense to you and where would you want to go next from this screen? And it was just a really, really cool process. And there were a couple of things where the group said, okay, this is great and we want this, but we would really love this other thing more. And that kind of sent me down on this other tangential path, and come to find out that thing that they mentioned ended up on the roadmap because we realized this is more valuable and this does drive more functionality to our users. So we're going to do this first. And then those other things that were on the roadmap, they're going to come later. I can have worked in the industry as long as you want, but I wouldn't have known those things. So my industry experience helps me ask the right questions sometimes, but I kind of defer to them to tell me what they really need because it's always changing.
We've got something we call the idea portal, right? And I think you said we took over 30 ideas that our customers submitted, even customers that weren't part of these advisory groups, just customers that submitted their ideas to us. And we captured over 30 of those just in this one area alone. So it's, while the advisory groups were great, we're getting input from other places as well.
Yeah. And that actually, the idea portal that's kind of where our original construction roadmap came from, that set of features that we were going to deliver, 30 ideas, over 500 votes. And then we used our construction advisory boards to kind of validate and figure out, okay, high level, we know we're going to deliver this, but what should it look like? What should the mock-ups be? What should the workflows be in the actual software?
How do you try? I mean, sounds overwhelming to me, having all these different ideas, but you must have some type of either a filter or prioritization or some type of, I'm sure there's a project management term for this, but how do you try and figure out where the priorities are in terms of, is it trying to get instant profitability? Is it trying to improve efficiency? What were some of those initial challenges that from a 30,000 foot level you were seeing?
That's a really great question. And I don't think there's a one size fits all approach, right? So one of the first things we do when ideas come in is we kind of categorize them based on what area of the software it's in. Is this something that's going to affect invoicing? Is this CRM related? And then from there, we can filter out and focus on areas. We can also focus on, is this something that's going to be more useful for maintenance operations or more useful for construction operations? From there, it does end up maximizing productivity, but what we really try to focus on first is what is going to be the best user experience. We could build something that will increase productivity, but it may be terrible for the user. And if your users do not want to use the software, it does not matter how much your CEO may want you to, right? And so there's definitely a balance there of, we want things to be efficient. We want the numbers to be in front of the business so that they can make informed decisions as they go into their planning periods. But if you can't get buy-in from the bottom up, well, you're not going to win that battle.
So you came out with a list of priorities, decided what they were. It sounds like you were the bridge between the clients and then your software team. How did that look in terms of implementing, rolling out? I mean, did you wait until it was completely done, or were you sort of testing along the way with some of your test pilots per se?
Oh, that's a great question. That's also feature dependent. It's not a one size fits all approach. So we did run a couple of our new features through a beta period. A couple of those features were brand new in terms of the technical approach that we took from the back end all the way up to the front end. And so something that new, we didn't want to just kind of release it out into the world. We did beta test that just to kind of validate our assumptions, and it, went off without a hitch. And so after the beta period was up, everyone got that feature. We did release, I think we just released our third official feature release of construction roadmap features. We have a couple more coming. So we do release incrementally. Every couple of months we're releasing. In between those releases, our developers are working to actually build those features. We are testing continuously. We implement development-driven testing. We have a quality team. We performance test. We have automated test engineers who are simultaneously writing their own code, and that code tests the code that the developers wrote. So it's quite complex, and I don't know. We just do the thing. It just works.
Yeah, we're on a 9-week cycle, Robert. So basically, everything that we're working on gets boiled down into 9-week chunks.
Okay.
Sometimes a feature's too big to get into 9 weeks, but we'll do half of it in the first 9 weeks and the other half in the second 9 weeks before a customer may actually see it.
Right.
But like Whitney said, we just, we incrementally go through the lists. It's prioritized, right, Whitney? Like you've either seasonality, time of year on when certain features are more important, or there's obviously dependencies, right? So one feature may be dependent on another. That all gets baked into the plan that gets rolled out. But from our customer standpoint, every 9 weeks they essentially get an update, right?
Okay.
That there's something new, something enhanced.
I did a webinar a few months ago, and I talked about how a lot of software, there was maybe something like a 50-ish%, 50-60%, adoption of that software, or full utilization of that software. And, if you're doing those sort of 9-week updates, talk through how do you roll that out? So if people are already not fully adopting it, they know there's an issue with a certain part of the software, and you're providing updates. What have you seen successful in the past? Or what are you doing now differently to try and, improve or get better adoption, especially of the newer updates?
Also a good question. I promise listeners, I didn't know this was coming, but literally just yesterday, a colleague and I were looking at one of the tools that we use to assess our application adoption. And we're sitting at about 85-87%, which is really fantastic. So I know that number. But that's the whole application, right? And so you're right. When we release features, we also track those specific features individually. We do kind of have some expectations and metrics for where we think that adoption is going to be. Some of them we've hit it out of the park. There's been a couple things. One financial report that we released specifically, it was a new component. It looks a little different than anything else in the system looks. And we saw a little bit delayed adoption for that. And I honestly just think it was because it looked different and no one wanted to mess it up because it's financial, right? And so, I don't know how to use this. I'm just going to back out of it. So we had used some tooltips and some in-app guides to guide users through and felt like we wanted to do more. So we demoed that heavily at Ignite. We did 2 different customer-facing webinars that were recorded and made available in our knowledge base to users who maybe couldn't attend the webinars. We in product management, work with a lot of our colleagues that are customer facing. So we've done some lunch and learns with our CSM staff. We've done trainings with our implementation staff. So it's kind of a group effort to make sure that, we make sure that our users know that the features are there and how to use them and kind of drive that adoption. So we know pretty early on how adoption's going. And if we see that something isn't on track, we take extra steps to make sure the education's out there.
One of the really cool things that I didn't get to enjoy when I was an engineer and in product management is the tools that are available today. So Whitney and her team have some powerful tools that let them see what customers are doing, right? Not just what they're using or not using, but also, I mean, they can go and literally watch a playback of a customer experience. And so if there's a problem in the software, we're either getting errors or customers are logging help tickets on it or whatever, we can go back and we can review and we can watch things and see what really happened in not real time, but recorded from a real user experience. But, we also just kind of generally across the board, and I think this is one of the beautiful things about SaaS businesses, software as a service businesses, which is what we are, is we're highly motivated for our customers to continue to get value out of the software and services we provide. And so like our customer success team, our CSMs, they have a scorecard that they have with each of their clients that scores the client on their usage of the system. And they literally get an A, a B, a C, a D, are you 90%, 80%? And we'll go to customers that are lower scoring and we know they're not getting value. And so we go to them and we work with them on, do you need additional training? Maybe they lost somebody. Sometimes, just a turnover of a key employee can impact their utilization of a system. If the knowledge wasn't spread well across the organization. And so that's something that we pay a lot of attention to. And that's both on our success team, but also on Whitney's team and on our product management team, where, they're looking at the features, functions that they're responsible for and going, are they being used? Are we being effective? Or do we have issues, right? Are there issues in the software that are limiting its usability?
And those types of surveys you do, I mean, do you get a good response rate for those? Just so you can get some accurate feedback? Or is it, like a lot of surveys that are maybe 30, 40% sort of response rates, or do you get a lot higher?
Well, like on the scorecards, we create the scorecards for the customer. We go into the system and we can analyze the data. So, and there's, as you're well aware, Robert, it's Aspire's a big system, right? There's a lot of pieces to it. You don't have to use every piece, right? So there's some pieces that are more optional and there's some pieces that are absolutely essential. So, maybe you're not doing as much with equipment in the system. That's okay. It's not required. There's value you're leaving on the table by not using it, but you can run an effective business without it. But there's other key pieces like the way that your consistency with timekeeping and scheduling and invoicing that we can go in and through our analysis on the back end, looking at the data, we can say they're not doing the steps they need to do, or maybe they're doing it, they're just not doing it in a timely fashion. Like they're leaving money on the table. They're not invoicing timely, which we know creates collection issues down the road if you're not staying on top of invoicing. So those are the types of things where we can proactively engage with a customer because we've got the data. And we're there to help them. Like if they don't want help, we can't force help on them. But by and large, they're like, yes, we want to get more value out of this. So help us. Like what do we need? Do we need training? Do we need just a direction? Or maybe it's just an encouragement. Hey, it's taking you a week longer than the average Aspire client to approve your time. That has some negative side effects. So there's some unique things that we can do given our perspective and our access to data.
You talk about a lot where, we have so much data available now to us these days. I suppose that's good and bad, but it's really utilizing that data to be able to analyze it, figure out some solutions around it. One of the things you both touched on is, again, trying to get your customers to adopt some of these, whether it be a refresh training or just maybe learn about some of the new updates. And, you both know that our industry does, busier sometimes years compared to other. How does that then play into how reaching out to them and maybe doing a deeper dive at some of the quieter times of year? What does that look like?
Our team is well aware of the seasonality, and it can vary, right, from parts of the country to parts of the country, right? We have, I think, probably around half of our customers who do a relatively significant amount of snow, for example. But on a general schedule basis, like our releases are scheduled around the functionality leading up to the next time of year, right? So we're not going to roll new snow functionality out in January, right? That's going to come in August. People can see it, work with it, prepare for the season. And so that applies to things well beyond snow in any part of the business. But given that on our service team especially, and some on our product team, as you see with Whitney, we've got so much experience on our team as former contractors. So they understand the unique needs of the business. When they're calling on a customer to help them, they know when to not call them because it's spring. Do we need to talk about everything in spring? No, we need to talk about maybe certain specific things that they have to get done now. But some of the bigger, broader conversations, they can wait till the middle of summer or maybe over the winter if they're not doing a lot of snow. So there's definitely an appreciation and sensitivity across our teams on the seasonality of these businesses because it can be pretty extreme, as you're well aware.
Yeah. So what does the future look like for Aspire Software in terms of future improvements, new developments? What does that look like over the next, 6-12 months or so?
Yeah, Whitney, I know you're not done with construction. You've got a few more things to do.
So one of the cool things that we're going to be working on shortly is it's actually the feature that one of our construction advisory boards said, hey, we really want this thing instead, which is estimate revisioning. There are workarounds in our system today that will support users being able to send either like good, better, best pricing to the sole customer, or if you're doing bid build commercial construction, bidding one job to 5 different GCs. Because as you can imagine, there's only so many general contractors and so many landscape contractors in a general area that are equipped to do like large scale jobs. You can do it today. It's admittedly clunky. And this is where we're talking about it's gotta work for your boots on the ground. And so like it's those estimators that are kind of dying right now with those workarounds. And so we're delivering that and we're cleaning up the workflow. We're expanding a lot of the functionality. We're going to make sure that we're not inflating sales pipelines or deflating win-loss rates for sales scorecards and cleaning everything up so that, because we all know if you're doing design build business, customers are never going to just pick good, better, best. They're going to pick part of good and part of better and part of best. And then you have 3 things that you need to merge. And we're just going to make that seamless for our customers so that it's easier to do. I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, Robert, and outside of that, you'll see us investing in a lot of areas across the system, whether it's customer portal, subcontractor portal, we have more things coming up there. Site audits, which are an important thing to our customers, they're going to become even more important with some of the new things that we're working on. And even some of our cross-industry work, we're working with cleaning companies now as well, are bringing some powerful new ideas, some powerful new features that are in Aspire and some that are coming to Aspire that are really going to benefit landscape contractors as well. So we've got a big team. There's a lot of work going on every day. There's a lot coming. We are careful to not project too far in the future. The product roadmap is one that goes about 50 miles. And then after that, it gets a little fuzzy. But as we get to the 25th mile marker, we'll solidify the next 50 miles. So as we continue to go down the road, we'll more commit to dates. But thematically right now, construction has been a top priority for us. We're just rolling off of some other top priorities. We rolled out a whole new mobile platform for the crews in the field that operates when there is no cell phone coverage. So crews can work offline and do all the work that they could do if they were online. And then when they get back into signal range, it'll sync up automatically. So some very sophisticated things like that, facial recognition for clock in, clock outs, some really advanced, really powerful functionality that, our customers are, have recently just got in their hands, as well as the stuff we're working on for the next 6, 12, 18 months.
A couple more questions here and then we'll finish up. There are probably some non-Aspire users in the audience, but what would be the biggest message for them in terms of just the gathering data, gathering sort of their client information, just trying to really just make sure you're still sort of keeping people happy?
What we hear from contractors all the time is, as they're running their business, they can typically work with maybe some systems that are cobbled together, right? I'm keeping track of this in a spreadsheet. I'm using QuickBooks for something like managing the financial aspects, invoicing, what have you. But once you get beyond that, whatever it is for you, that $1 million, $2 million mark, and the information is now spread across multiple people's heads, like one person can't keep track of it anymore. Some of those things start breaking down. And so, in order to maintain your margins as you grow, in order to maintain your level of service to your customers as you grow, you do need systems that work together. Whether it's Aspire or something else, you need to have the pieces of your organization, the different functions of your organization communicating together. That is the most important thing. And that's what Kevin and I saw years ago. And we said, hey, we really need to fill that gap. But I think that's really the key piece. As your organization grows, it's so hard for an individual to keep track of that much stuff. And we talked to so many contractors who were like, when I was $2 million, I was making good money. I was profitable. And now I'm $6 million and I'm making less money and working harder than when I was $2 million. And I'm sure you've heard it too, Robert. It's that's the story. And it's like, well, are people less capable of doing the work? Not at all. It's communication breakdowns across the organization and people not having access to the information they need to make quality decisions. And so that to me, that's essential. And if you've got information over here and over there, and those things aren't talking to each other, it makes it really difficult.
100%. Whitney, you have anything to add to that?
Not every company really wants to grow. And that's totally valid. There's a couple contractors here in Austin, Texas, who, they cap their projects. And if you're willing to wait, whatever the wait list is, they will get around to you. And they're going to do this much business per year. And they're not going to do any more. And they do great work. And that's just how those contractors operate. But if you want to grow and you want to scale, you just really have to have the operation and systems in place, because you're going to hit a roadblock.
So if anybody is interested in talking to Aspire regarding either your new products or what the future looks like or anything Aspire related, what's the best way for them to connect with either of you?
Well, aspiresoftware.com is our website. They can reach out to us anytime there. I for sure will be at Elevate coming up here very soon. Whitney, will you be there?
As of yesterday, yes. I'm so excited. I haven't been since I was a professor at A&M, but yes, I'll be at Elevate too. Come find me at the booth.
If you weren't going, I was going to be calling somebody right after this going.
I'm going.
So conferences like that are a great place for us to connect with not just prospects, but with our clients. Looking forward to that. Reach out to us anytime. You can reach out to me directly. I'm mark.tipton@youraspire.com. Would be happy to connect you with the right folks on our team who can help you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Whitney. It's been a great conversation today. Really enjoyed it. Glad that you went through this great exercise of listening to your clients and figuring out what's the priorities, and glad you're starting to implement it, and look forward to further updates. So thank you both.
It's been fun,
Thank
Robert.
you, Robert.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great Ironman mindset takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. Love to get you, your friends, your employees to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to your various podcast channels. Visit our website, commerciallandscaper.com or wilson-360.com. You could check out our digital courses. You could check out peer groups, coaching, my book, Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. And we just want you to have a pure, dead, brilliant day. And finally, thanks again to Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone.